Hello and welcome to Gardening and Allotment Tips, hosted by Gardening with Ben. If you've not checked out my main podcast channel, go and check it out. It's called Gardening with Ben. There's a link in the description and you can just search it on any podcast platform and you will be able to find it. Just search for Gardening with Ben and it will come up. You can even say to Alexa, play Gardening with Ben, and she will start playing it for you and you'll be able to listen to my fantastic voice over your Alexa. But yes, we are back with another podcast on here and we seem to be doing quite a few at the moment, so hopefully we can keep up with it, as there's plenty of gardening and allotment tips at the moment and things are only just beginning in the year, and soon there will be so many gardening and tips advice to share with you, so who knows, we may even get double episodes coming up, but we'll have to find time to do that. But yes, we are back here with another podcast. If you've not subscribed to this podcast channel, click that follow button or click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts, and you get notified when a new podcast comes up, and it helps build my audience as well, so please keep on following and sharing and stuff like that, as it all helps me grow my podcast channel. So what are we talking about today? We are going to be talking about potatoes. Yes, growing potatoes. Now, potatoes are one of the best things that you can grow in your allotment or garden. If you have never tried a homegrown potato, you have been missing out totally. They don't taste anything like a shop-bought potato whatsoever, and I will guarantee you of that 100%. The reason why they taste so much better is because when you wash them, the skins just come off, and when you cook them, they just melt in your mouth. They're the best tasting potatoes ever. They're not hard like your shop-bought ones, and the reason why is because they are picked when they're fresh, and you eat them when they're fresh, whereas when they've been in the supermarket, who knows how long they've been in storage for before they've actually got to the shop, and how long they've been in transit for as well. It same goes for any sorts of fruit and vegetables. Things are picked before they're actually ready, so that they are ready when they get into the shops. So half of the times they have not fully developed properly, so that is why they taste so much better when you grow your own. And now is the time to be looking at planting those potatoes. Yes, we have been getting snow, and yes, we have been getting cold weather, but planting the potatoes in the ground will not harm them one bit at the moment. And the best way to plant your potatoes is obviously in rows, and that means digging a trench, usually a spade depth at least, or a bit more, as obviously the deeper that you plant them, the higher the plants will grow and they'll produce more potatoes on them and get a bigger crop. So obviously digging them nice and deep is really good to do. But if you're not up for digging a trench out, another way of planting potatoes, which I think is a fantastic tip, is if you've got a bulb planter, a nice long one, use that to make the hole and then just put the potato in. And that's an easy way of doing it. You don't have to lug a spade in the ground and dig out that massive trench and sweat yourself to get off. I'm going to say something else. Sweat yourself while you're digging that trench and planting all them potatoes. But sometimes digging the trench does help break up the soil, and you can find any roots and weeds that are hiding in the soil as you're shoveling it out. So it has its benefits digging that trench out as well. And one thing about what they say about potatoes is that plant them in an area that you've not used before, because it helps break up the soil as well, and it's good for the ground for future production. So usually around this time of year, you're usually planting your first lot of earlies. Now they have different titles. You have earlies, you have lates, and yeah, it's about planting them when it's ready really, because if you're planting earlies usually take longer to grow. They usually take about 16 to 20 weeks to grow, so that is why they're called earlies, because they take that long to grow, whereas the lates don't take as long to grow and they will produce the potatoes faster. So planting your early potatoes around now, I usually go on the rule of planting them on Good Friday. Yes, Good Friday moves every single year, but it's all about something to do with the moon. It's an old wives' tale, and that is what I've usually stuck to around when I plant my early potatoes. So usually I dig the trench out, and then what I will do is I will get some potato fertilizer and sprinkle that in the bottom, and then lay my potatoes in a nice row. But obviously make sure you leave enough room in between the gaps so that they got plenty of room to grow them. So once you have planted your potatoes, what you can then do is shovel back in the soil that you have put on it. But obviously remember, once they've watered, the soil will sink down a bit, so you need to make sure that you build up from the edges of your where you've dug, build it up into like a pile so that it's like ridged along where you've planted them. The reason why we put this ridge in is to protect the potatoes, because when they start growing through the ground, you need to keep building up that soil around the plant, because if they pop through the ground while there's still chance of frost, if Mr. Frost comes along, he will scorch the plants and it will turn the plants black, and it could damage your potato crop, and you don't want that. So keep building it up. Also, if the potatoes start popping through the top and they turn green, they become poisonous, and you obviously don't want poisonous potatoes. So that is the reason why we keep bulking it up. And obviously if you keep bulking up the potatoes, you can get more and more of a crop as well, so you can keep doing that as well. And potatoes are very easy to look after. All you have to do is just keep watering them and keep looking after them that way, because if you look after them, they will produce fantastic crops, and that is what you want to do. Just keep them weed free, because obviously you don't want the potatoes fighting against the weed, because the weeds will take all the nutrients, all the water away from the soil, and that is one thing that you don't want. You want the potatoes to get all the nutrients and the water from the soil to produce them better crops as well. And when they start growing, the thing is with potatoes, you don't know when they're going to be ready because they're under the ground. So how do you know when a potato is ready? And the reason how you know they're ready is because they will start to flower, and sometimes they'll end up growing these like little mini tomatoes on the plant. Do not eat them mini tomatoes, they are poisonous and they can cause a lot of damage, so do not eat them, or don't let your dogs or anything eat them off them either, as they are highly poisonous. The way that I usually tell the potatoes are ready is when the plant actually starts to die on top, and that will usually mean a sign that they are ready for harvesting. Obviously you can also mark it on your calendar 16 to 20 weeks from you planting them, and they should be ready. And another way of telling if they're ready is shove your hand into the soil and have a feel. Have a feel like a lucky dip, and try and find a potato and see if it's actually a big potato or not, and you will know if they are ready to be picked. But the thing is with picking potatoes is that when you dig, now when you think they're ready, you'll want to get in there and get the potatoes out of the ground, and that is the exciting part of it. Now you've got to be very careful when you're sticking either your spade or your fork into the ground, because you don't know where them potatoes are. They could be right where you put your spade in, and you could end up chopping your potato in half and ruining it. So just make sure you leave enough room between where the plant is and where you're putting the spade in. You can always dig at the side of it and just pull away the soil and find where the potatoes are hiding, and that is the best way to harvest your potatoes. I've done it many a times, cut through the potatoes, and yeah, you certainly don't want to lose those precious potatoes, not when you spent all them months growing them. Now, potatoes are absolutely brilliant. So once you've harvested them, you can store them somewhere nice and cool and get them as and when you need them, or you can just harvest them as and when you need them. You don't have to harvest them all at once. They store under the ground for quite a while, so just harvest them as and when you need them. So yeah, and one of the main things what you've got to remember is you've got to make sure you get all the potatoes out, because if you just leave that tiny little one hiding in the ground, it might grow potato plants again and again and again until they keep popping up everywhere. So make sure you get all them potatoes out of the ground, and that is one of the ways how it gets to improve the soil over the months, and you get some good soil for growing in the months ahead with other plants. And once you've dug them up, you can always plant something else in them beds straight away, and you'll be able to harvest them through the end of summer into autumn. So yeah, that is basically how you grow potatoes in the ground. Now we'll do another podcast later on talking about how to grow potatoes in tubs and in potato bags. So make sure you stay around for that episode coming up. And yeah, make sure you do click that subscribe button, and then you'll get notified when the new podcasts come up. And as always, thank you for the support that you do give me. Thank you for the likes and the comments that you'd share with me, and the messages as well when you've listened to a podcast. It's always great to hear from those listeners outside of the podcast. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, please do leave a review, and please do leave a rating, because it does help build my podcast and it gets it out there to more people. And if it's got a good star rating or a good written review, more and more people will see it and they'll start listening to it. And I really do want to build my podcast audience up this year, and hopefully get absolutely thousands of people listening to it, because that would make my day. And to encourage more people into gardening, that is what I want to do eventually, and hopefully encourage lots of people to start gardening. And especially with children, it's a great thing to do with children if you've got them. So yeah, keep on sharing and keep on listening as it starts to grow. And there's lots of new people listening. I can't see who's listening, but I can see how many people have subscribed recently, and that's brilliant. So keep on listening to these podcasts, and I hope that you do enjoy them. And if you've got any topics that you want me to talk about, send me a message about that, and I'll happily do a podcast about it. Like I always say, I'm an amateur gardener. I'm still learning all the time. I've only been doing it 16 years. Yes, 16 years seems a long time, but you're still learning new gardening tips and advice all the time. And as I learn new stuff, that's when I'll share it with you while you're listening. So I hope that you all have a fantastic weekend. I hope that you get plenty done in the gardens and the allotments. Even though it has been cold, there's still jobs to be done. If you listened to yesterday's podcast, we were talking all about what to do in the garden shed and in the greenhouse and polytunnels. So make sure you have a listen to that podcast. And if you've not listened to any of the other podcasts, go ahead and listen to all them and enjoy them. So until next time, as always, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening, and keep listening to Gardening with Ben's podcasts.